Hi, welcome to Spinster's Library. I'm Charlie.
And I'm Claudia.
And today we are going to be discussing The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. And this is her debut novel. It is sort of a fictionalized version of the Black Lives Matter movement. The protagonist is a girl named Star, who in the first chapter witnesses the shooting of her best friend.
Obviously set in America.
Yes. Then it's basically just about how she deals with that and how her community deals with that. With the shooting, I should say, of her best friend by a police officer.
Yes.
And it's quite clearly not right.
No.
He should not have shot him. It is in this very race-driven.
Mm-hmm. It's a really harrowing scene.
Yeah. Oh, I had to put it down and cry, but then I had to do that like the whole way through the book.
I didn't really cry, but I definitely had to put it down and go. And then, take a moment before getting back to it.
Yeah. I think that goes the whole way through the book, though. There's certain times when Star is with her family, in particular, her father. There's a part of it where her father gets stopped by the police.
Mm-hmm. They say stopped. He was just, standing outside on the road.
Yeah, and he is made to get down on the floor, and it's just one of the hardest things to read I've ever had to read.
Absolutely.
I think.
Yeah. One of the things that I found difficult about this book, apart from the material, difficult for reading it, is that it's a first person and present tense, which is a combination I don't like. I know it's very popular in young adult fiction, but I don't like it. But after getting through about half of the book, I could see why the author did that. It really gets you inside the main character's head.
Definitely.
Because frankly, the stuff that happens to her is something that will never happen to me. Ever. Never. And you are very aware of that. If you're a white person reading this, you're very aware that this is far removed from your own life.
Especially, I think, for us, because we're in England, or Wales, but in the United Kingdom, I'm not saying we don't have that sort of problem. We definitely do, but there are not guns in the same way. We don't have police shootings that way.
You see a police officer and you feel vaguely safe.
Yeah, I have to say...
Also, they wear silly hats here. You should look it up if you've not seen a UK police officer.
Well, yeah, because my dad is transgender. I know a lot of the police officers at home with my dad.
Oh, I bet you do,
because she gets a lot of transphobic abuse from some of the local youths. So we have, we regularly just invite all of the PCSOs and officers up for a coffee. So we have a very different sort of view on police, I think, here.
Which, again, not saying that it's perfect in any way.
Oh, definitely not. Especially because we're white. We don't really...
Yeah, exactly.
We don't face that sort of problem ever.
No. And speaking as a foreigner,
Sorry, your cat is just being ridiculous.
I know she is. On to a more serious topic. I'm no stranger to xenophobia, but actually I got more of that in Germany, where I come from, because my parents aren't German.
Italian, yeah.
But I'm still white. I'm not a target in the same way as a lot of the characters in The Hate You Give. But basically, you're reading this book, and you're very aware of your own privilege. And I think it does it in such a good way that draws you in. It's not preachy.
It doesn't make you feel guilty either.
No.
I think it doesn't make you feel guilty for being white, which is good. It just invites you to witness someone else's perspective and what happens to someone else.
Yeah.
And I think that's amazing, the way it's written. I think Angie Thomas is a wonderful author. I know you're not a big fan of her present tense.
The style, yeah.
But I don't like that particularly either. I find first-person books a bit hard to get into sometimes because they're very telly. They're saying, I felt this way. This happened to me. But it works for this novel.
I think one of the most intriguing characters is Star's boyfriend, whose name I can't remember. Is it Chris or something like that?
Yes, he is very interesting.
Yeah.
Because he is white, and his interactions with Star's family and community, especially, so at the end there is kind of a riot. They all get in the truck together.
Oh, and confront the police.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wouldn't want to call that a riot because...
Yeah. It was a sort of protest, and then there was a confrontation with the police.
Yeah.
So what do you... Oh, and he's in that.
Yes.
And he's the only white person.
And he stands right next to her the whole way through. And I found that really interesting because what he does is he doesn't try and protect her. He doesn't try and step in front of her and take the attention off of her.
Mm-hmm.
What he does is just support her, which I think is really amazing.
And that's at the end of his learning curve because he's in no way perfect. And like I said, especially in the interaction with her, it's... there is so much detail and there's so much nuance in the way that these characters interact in a very real way that I just really loved.
Yeah. And I loved Star. At the start, I was really confused by her because, well, she's a 16-year-old girl and it's been a while since I was 16. But I found her so compelling. The way she struggles with telling everyone what happened and... just how she internalizes all of that.
The way she leads a double life at home and at school.
Yeah.
But all of these things are really woven into the narrative. You don't feel like there's any bit where there's too much description or anything like that. They're just all natural interactions between the characters, which makes it so good. There's an uncle who is a police officer. He's another really interesting character.
That is a really interesting dynamic. Because he is Star's mother's brother.
Yeah.
And
who partly raised her.
Yeah, Star's father was in prison when the uncle raised her.
Yeah.
So there's a very tricky dynamic between the two of them.
Yeah.
And I think they do kind of respect each other, but they dislike each other.
Yeah. And then there's also the interaction between the uncle and his white police colleagues.
Oh, yeah.
Which we sort of... It's almost like... it's not even a side plot. It's like a... It's sort of beyond what Star experiences herself, but obviously as the reader you can sort of read between the lines and guess what happens.
Yeah. I felt very angry for him at certain points when he has to like take Star to the courts and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Another thing I like is that the character, she is a 16-year-old girl. She doesn't witness this horrific murder and then go, right, now I'm an activist.
No. She tries to just continue living her normal life. And it's just so real in that. I love it.
It's a very good book.
So, yeah, I would definitely say if you like young adult books, it's just definitely read it. But if you don't like young adult books, I'd still say give it a go.
Yep. And I say that as someone who doesn't really read that much young adult fiction. I would recommend this to anyone.
Because it's not really about her being 16. Her being 16 is just part of it.
Oh, I mean, it's definitely... The story would unfold in a different way if she wasn't 16. If she was 25, we'd have a different story. But the fact that she is 16 does not detract from the story.
Yeah.
It's a very good book. I give it 4 stars.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think I either gave it 4 or 5.
You gave it 5.
Yeah. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, Charlie's a bit more generous with her stars.
Charlie's more generous with her tears and everything, basically. So.
What can I say? I'm German.
Alright, so if you have read it, let us know what you think. And if you haven't, let us know if you're planning to pick it up. And other than that, thank you for listening.
And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.